Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I'm here at Apex 2020 and I'm joined by Grace O'Malley from iNEMI. Thanks for joining me, Grace. You've been locked away in committee meetings for the last couple of days, and you've been doing quite a lot with the PCB community. What's been coming out of that? What are the findings? What are the key challenges for that sector?
Great. Well, first, thank you, Phil, for the opportunity. I think there's a lot of very interesting challenges actually being faced by the PCB community and supply chain at the moment, driven by a lot of emerging needs and applications in the industry. So we iNEMI co-hosted a session with IPC yesterday, looking specifically at the challenges that these emerging applications are presenting to us. So there was a lot of discussion, of course, on materials development, and that's particularly being driven by 5G and beyond, millimeter wave applications, and some excellent work being done in that area. But of course, the next step is, okay, how do we now characterize these materials, test these materials, and the fabricators and the fabricator processing and how those impact the performance of the materials is a big discussion point within the industry right now. So a lot of interest and interaction in those areas. And in fact, even within the iNEMI community, we already have some working groups looking at exactly those issues, in particular testing and characterization of materials for 5G and beyond.
Okay. And when you look at that committee, where are you in terms of having the right group of stakeholders there? Obviously, you've got the laminate manufacturers, probably the PCB guys. Are you getting the OEMs and the end users?
Yes, and I think it's a similar, fundamentally it's a similar problem if you're in packaging or printed circuit board technology. And so we, within iNEMI community, we have a very good cross-section of the supply chain, laminate manufacturers, base material manufacturers, as well as the OEMs and some of the test equipment as well. So we have a nice ecosystem for addressing some of these challenges. But actually our working groups at the moment are open to others to participate. So we're seeing a lot of engagement from the IC and device people as well, actually. So.
I think that's really interesting. One of the trends that we've been talking about quite a lot this week is the blurring of the lines between industries, and that's certainly happening, particularly with semiconductor and SMT, but it's happening in other areas as well. There's a real fuzziness of where one industry stops and another one begins.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that convergence has happened to a great extent, and we're already seeing those types of devices, particularly in the high-end consumer. But of course, the other market segments are now looking to leverage both the capabilities and the cost advantages in some cases of these newer technologies, and these then present additional challenges for more challenging applications such as automotive, for example.
I was going to say automotive must be pushing some of the boundaries, because obviously the technology in cars is one thing, and there are all kinds of temperature and reliability requirements there, but electrification is having a big impact.
Absolutely. So, higher power, thermal, those fundamental requirements of the materials have changed, so the specification and the requirements have changed. But not only that, the applications are changing, because with electrification and autonomous vehicles, and we anticipate the car you buy today just for your own personal use, maybe the next car you buy won't be, or you may not even buy one. You'll be buying a car service in the future, and the vehicles will have much longer life cycles. They could be operating 23 out of 24 hours of the day, and that's fundamentally changing the approach that must be taken in terms of designing the devices, the modules, and the materials.
But I think it's fabulously exciting. I think from a sustainability point of view, a car being used 23 hours a day rather than 1 hour a day is really, really interesting, and this idea of shared ownership and what that frees up in terms of car parking space and all those kind of things is actually a great opportunity. So you start by getting all the right stakeholders together, recognizing all the key challenges. That's great, but now we need to get out there and fix those challenges. So you have some working groups. I guess you're developing additional groups.
Oh yes, all the time. So we have working groups looking at the fundamental areas, and one particularly focused on 5G. We actually have a project running at the moment looking at really trying to streamline and make it easier to pre-qualify materials that are suitable for these harsher applications. And this was one that came from our material supplier segment within our own membership, because every OEM had their own special requirement list, right? And there's a lot of time and effort devoted to these pre-quals of materials. And what we wanted to do is try and get guidelines on what are the the windows that they should be aiming for. And that project's running with a lot of involvement, from the aerospace, from the automotive as well, and having the material suppliers working together. So the ultimate aim being to speed up and minimize the cost and time. And that's one of the other things I should mention about automotive today, is the time cycle has changed. So people now expect the capabilities integrated to every new model of cars. So even before we get to the whole autonomous driving, you need more requirements internally in the cars right now, and additional safety and. So of course that's really condensing the development cycle time as well.
We
that's
can't.
A big impact.
We can't have that old-fashioned seven-year model cycle compared to like 7 months for maybe a device. That's for sure. I think what's really nice to see is the collaboration that you get between all the different layers in the value chain. But what's also interesting, and I think we're seeing more and more of this, is collaboration between the associations. You sharing with IPC, bringing in other associations like SEMI. iNEMI has always played nice with everybody, but it's really encouraging to see everybody being much more collaborative.
Yeah, well, we're all member-driven organisations, and all the organisations don't want to duplication and I think we all have our complementary space, right? And we've been long-term partners with IPC, historically just on the printed circuit board area, if you like, and they've contributed to the roadmap development over the years in the printed circuit board area. And of course, they are interfacing with the printed circuit board and electronics manufacturing community worldwide, as are we. I think what iNEMI can bring to the table is having some fundamental technical work done as part of the projects, and that's very useful. We had this discussion even yesterday about the standards and developing the standards. Standards are a consensus document, but it shouldn't just be a consensus of opinion. It should be looking at good technical data and a body of work, right? That'll develop the best standards for everyone, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what's probably, to my mind, when I look at the different trade associations, I think that's one of the things that characterizes iNEMI for me. It's the ability to bring all those different stakeholders together and actually do real work and produce hard, solid data that supports the findings of that, and then to share those findings across the industry. And that's fantastic. And as you say, many of your members, you're member-led, and many of your members are members of IPC, members of other associations. So.
True, and they do an excellent job of identifying where the work needs to be done, and also then deploying it out into, so we would have a lot of input, or at least consideration as input into standards development, not just within IPC, to be fair, IEC standards and others as well, but that's built, and it's our members taking that, and then they're more comfortable, and they've been through the teething process and understanding what the issues are, so they're going to get behind those standards, and that helps the standards then get passed and approved and implemented much quicker, which is a win-win for the industry.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. Everybody wins out of it. Grace, keep doing the excellent work, and keep stopping by to talk to us about it. Thank you so much.